Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to whoever you are, wherever you are. I'm Oliver Perry. Today is day 12 of the 30. Doggone it, I'd mess it up every time. Day 12 of the 500K in 30-day challenge, where I go on here onto all my platforms live, talk real estate in an effort to raise funds for real estate investing, multifamily as well as single family. If it's something that you're interested in the real estate space, as far as real estate investing, passively or even actively, please feel free to contact me in the description. I've got an actual Calendly link where you can book a call and we can sit and talk for 15 minutes. If it's just you want to connect, please, by all means, do that too. I'm more than willing to connect with anybody and everybody. I've actually had some really great conversations in the last 3 or 4 days, and some people that I'm definitely looking forward to working with in the future, and looking forward to seeing how I can help them in whatever their endeavors are as they help me in mine. So today, wanted to go over a quick definition. It's a multifamily definition, of course, really for beginners more than anyone else, but I'm sure quite a few who are on here who have a little bit of experience either know it or have heard it or are even looking to continue to grow their knowledge in the real estate space and to learn more. And hopefully this can help them do that. So today the term is agency debt. This is a term you hear quite often in the real estate space. The reason you hear it quite often is because agency debt is one of the more preferred debts for multifamily investors, GPs, to be in. And here's why. Let me start here. Agency debt is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Now, their terms up to, let me not say all terms, but normally and generally, their terms are better. And when I say terms, things like the percentage, the interest rate that is, the interest only payments, and even the length. And there's some others as well, but these are 3 examples for you that you can look up and look into when it comes to the agency debt. And because of that, they are generally more competitive than some of the traditional banks and some of the other locations where you can get, funding from. So agency debt is something that you can look up yourself as well. And that's really a brief and short explanation, but it is one of the many different forms of debt that you can get into as far as multifamily real estate investing. That one is just preferred. That one I've also often seen the seller financing, which is something I'll get into next time, but that's another one that as a multifamily investor and really as any real estate investor with owner financing is one or seller financing is really, really good to get your hands on, because it helps you to do better when it comes to the profit side and spend less money because the rates don't change, things of that nature, all that. But we'll get into that at another time. So for today though, wanted to give you guys a few networking tips. Now, I've been doing a lot of networking here recently. I've done a lot of networking in the past, events, meetups, created my own REIA association. Yeah, REIA, real estate investing. So yeah, REIA for real estate investing. That's actually in Fort Knox, Kentucky. So I've done all that. I've done a lot of networking, and the purpose mainly of me being on video and doing things of that nature on YouTube and all the other stuff is really to be able to network and to put myself out there so that I can connect with you who's watching and listening. So I'm gonna give you a few tips, and hopefully this will help you as you're going through your journey to real estate investing and learning more about networking. So first thing, have a goal. One thing that I find that people don't seem to have when they go to any of the real estate investing, any of the real estate investor meetings, any of the virtual meetups, or even get on a call, they don't have a goal in mind. So my advice to you, as it was given to me, is to go in with someone in mind. Let's assume you're in the multifamily space as I am, and your main goal is to find yourself a great GC. GC, for those who don't know, is general contractor. That's the person who runs the show when you're building something out or you're doing repairs. That'll be the person you go to who handles everybody else, the plumber, the electrician, all that stuff. So if you have a good GC, life is quite a bit easier when it comes to rehabs and repairs, things of that nature. So you go into this meeting with the mindset of finding a GC. So by the end of that night, you have to find yourself a GC. Now, will he or she be great at that very moment? Lord only knows. But you are going in with an actual purpose. This helps you to really dial in your efforts to really get to what you want to get to, as opposed to kind of drifting around, just talking to lottie-dottie everybody. And this is not saying that you should not talk to lottie-dottie everybody, but it is saying that as you're having those conversations, you should ask, hey, do you know a good GC? Or who would you recommend as a GC? Now, in the single family space, and I'm sure some places in the multifamily space as well, people aren't going to be willing to give you something like the GC all the time. But if you don't ask, you're not going to find out. So you can go into any meeting and look for anything you're looking for. Private lender, let's assume you're looking for someone who works in capital raising. Let's say you're looking for someone who specializes in finding deals. Ask the question to those that you speak to. Make general conversation, make sure you connect with whoever that person is, but always be after a specific goal. So the next tip is to prioritize your events. As we are in COVID-19 timeframe, we've all experienced there's a million virtual events right now. I myself attend 4 or 5 at this point. You have to understand that you're not going to be everywhere. And it's a lesson that I had to learn recently, because I wanted to be on everybody's networking event. I wanted to be in every space. I wanted to be all over the place, but I realized I can't do that, because what happens is you spend all that time doing that and your family misses out, or you miss out because you've got to do a test, or you're struggling with whatever grad class you're going through, or you can't seem to get the right people on the phone to take care of some things around the house. Let's say you're trying to get a hold of that GC. You're too busy on every single event and you miss his or her call in the middle of the night when there's something that's going on. So you need to prioritize those events. How do you prioritize those events? Well, that's actually really, really easy. If you think about it, if you're looking for an event, and let's assume you're, again, in multifamily space, you're not going to go to a surfers virtual meetup. It makes no sense, right? So you have to figure out what's going to be the prioritization for you when it comes to your events. Know when you go here, this is what you're looking for, because you've got a goal still in mind. You're looking for here. When you go to this event, you're looking for here. And understand you're not going to make all of them. So you have to be able to say to yourself, okay, I can miss this one this week, but I'm going to make that the priority next week. Now, again, this does not necessarily mean that the prioritization has to stay the way that it is. It can always shift. It can always move around. You can always adjust it to fit your needs as well as the needs of those who are on the call, because you never know. One time you might get a phone call from that host and say, hey, can you stand in for me this weekend? Stand in for him or her. Take charge, take lead, help somebody out, because in the long run, you'll be helping yourself. Next, reach out with a time and a link. What's up, Jog Life? Yes, man. We are all in the 30-day 500K challenge. We're on day 12 now, and I'm running through some tips for real estate investing. Not real estate investing, but for people to tackle networking in real estate investing. And it's really for beginners or just anybody who's willing to listen. So next thing, reach out with a link. So the reason I say this is because quite a few times you'll find yourself on LinkedIn, you'll find yourself on Facebook, you'll find yourself on IG, you'll also find yourself on YouTube. And I'll give you a bonus tip after that when it comes to social media that might be able to help you as well. But for now, matter of fact, let me write that down. Bonus. Oh, that pen's not working. Bonus idea. Social media. Okay. So when you reach out to people, don't just reach out and say, hey, I want to talk to you. Reach out, say, hey, I'd love to talk to you, know more about you. I would also like if we could talk from this time to this time. Or say, hey, if this is okay with you, please see this link. Let me know what time works best for you, and I will be there and I will call you. Make it as convenient as possible for the person you want to connect with. Why do you ask? Because time is valuable and their time is more valuable than your time. I mean that in the sense as it should be to you. The first impression is everything. If you're immediately more concerned with the person that you're talking to more than you're concerned about yourself, they're going to remember that. And as they should remember that, because we live in a world right now where that's not always the case, where we're going back and forth, wrestling with somebody who's more concerned with what they want to get done as opposed to what you want to get done. When you get on that call, you're going to talk to them and you want to know about them. You want to have all that connection. But the way to do that is to actually shoot a link to them and tell them, hey, this is here all the way down. Hey, I've got this date open, this date open, this date open, this date open, and this date open. Give them options. Give them the ability to choose what works best for them, and therefore making it that much more of a pleasant conversation when you get them on the phone. The Jog Life says, I'm a builder, so funding to invest to kickstart my real estate developer journey. Yes, that's actually really good, man. That's awesome. I'm glad that as a builder, look at that. Look at it, man. Look, great photo too. Look at that. So as a builder doing that work, man, that's a lot of work you got to do. Not to mention you being able to bring funding and doing things of that nature. And that's going to make you dangerous, because that makes you dangerous not only on the building side, but that also makes you an asset to others if they come to you and say, hey, I'm looking for funding. Can you help me out? Right? It's a really great way to be, man. That's fantastic. Let's if you got time, man, let's find a way to connect. Shoot me a message. Okay, so we're going to go into the next one. The next one I actually mentioned during the last point. The next point is listen. When you get on a call with people and you're networking with people, even if you're not on a call, if you're at an event, if you are at a virtual event, if you're actually on the phone, listen to what people say. I cannot tell you how many times when cold calling or listening to a cold call, one of my partner's cold calls, or going through a cold call myself, or listen to a VA's cold call, we as people miss opportunities because we don't actually listen. And I'm sure anybody who's married can attest to this, because your husband or your wife or your spouse, we all miss things sometimes. We all miss it. And sometimes it's just how it works. Yes, please, Jog Life, man, hit me after. I would love to get on, connect with you. I appreciate that. So you have to take the time to listen, as I was saying. You can get on a phone call with people, and you know, people will ask, hey, how can I bring value to you? Well, how you bring value first is you ask questions. That sounds weird, but you ask questions. And here's why. When I get on the phone and I ask someone, so what do you do? And they tell me, hey, I do this, I break dance for a living. And what's the hardest thing about breakdancing? What's the most difficult thing about that? Because it seems hard to spin on your head on concrete. Is that really difficult? And let them tell you. Let them be honest with you and tell you, and have that honest conversation. Let them be honest and tell you, hey, you know what? It's sometimes difficult, man. I feel like I'm starting to rub a bald spot into the back of my head, right? Whatever it might be. I don't know if that actually happens to breakdancers or not. I'm just saying. Let's say hey, you know what? I know a great hair doctor that can help you out. I've got this advanced strength Rogaine that will get you squared away. Whatever it is, whatever it might be, listen to what they're telling you. Listen to what's happening and be involved, be engaged with that conversation, because the more you give out is the more you're going to get. But if you're too busy thinking about, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to go do this, and I'm hit. Don't worry about that. Do not worry about that. Why? Because your idea is to build a relationship. So if you burn all the topics of conversation now, when you call them back, you're going to have the silent treatment, or you're going to have that awkward silence. And it's always uncomfortable having that awkward silence. And I've done it several times. And again, these are all lessons that I've learned myself and that I'm going to continue to implement. I just wanted to make sure I share it with you, so it might be something that you can implement as well. So let's go into the bonus. So the bonus is on social media. Okay. So if you are on social media, if you're looking to engage more or to be engaged more, the way to do it is for you to take time, sit down, and engage. How do you do that? Well, there is a video. Gary Vee put it out quite a while ago, and it's called the $1.80 rule. It's his version. There's other versions where I've heard the 2-cent rule. There's some where I've heard providing commenting, basically is what it is. But what happens is this. You go onto a page, and let's say it's assuming someone that you enjoy. Let's say I go on the Jog Life's page. Go on the Jog Life page, and I engage with him. I watch a video, or I watch whatever content he might put out, and leave a comment. Not just any comment. These comments need to be thoughtful. You really need to sit down and listen and take in what they're saying. Again, practicing your listening skill. Bring in what they say, and then engage with them. Hey, that was a really good idea when it came to putting that type of shingle on that roof. Last time I checked, there was a guy that I had this experience with that didn't do it right, and all these things happen. Go down a list. Like if I was to go onto the Jog Life's page and I see that he's building, I'd bring up something that happened to me during one of my flips and see what his thoughts are. Not because I'm just engaging, because I'm really curious what his thoughts are going to be on that. So I had at one point during a flip, I had a nail on a roof. Absolutely, Jog. It's absolutely active listening. That's all it is. 100% active listening. And Jog Life said it's active listening. And as you guys can see, you got to actively listen and be engaged with what's happening. So as I was saying, I'd bring up something that happened to me during one of my flips. If I had the conversation and I listened to Jog while he was talking, I realized that he is in the industry of building. He knows how to build. He knows what it is to be up to code. He knows and understands the permit process. He knows what it is to find a good GC. He knows what it is to have a bad GC. All these things are things that I would want to make sure that I bring up or talk about or go around that area. And this is to, one, increase the conversation, to continue that conversation, but two, it helps him on his side, because when people go onto his site or to YouTube and they see a bunch of comments, oh, this must be interesting. And they start listening or they start watching. So you're doing two things. Not only are you providing yourself value, but even more importantly, you're providing the person who you're commenting on value, and you're building that relationship. You're building that contact, because if you're honest with yourself, nobody's going to promote somebody else's information if they're not really supporting. So if I go and blast something that Jog Life is doing, or if I blast something that Gary Vee is doing, Gary Vee is going to be a little bit more inclined to discuss it with me or to help me later on down the lines as opposed to he would with someone else. In the podcasting world, one of the ways that you can land bigger guests is to actually buy and engage and read some books of your guests, or to go to whatever program your guest might have. Now, it's not necessarily a cost-effective way on all of them, by no means, sure. But if your guest has a $10 book, pull it out, read the book. The active listening and the engagement side of this tip line, or these 5 tips, is easy, and it can be used across all platforms, all areas, even in IRL, in real life. So to review, first thing for how to tackle networking for beginners is 1, have a goal. 2, prioritize your events. 3, reach out with a link or a scheduled time that you can connect. 4, listen, actively listen. And lastly, but not leastly, engage on social media with whatever information that they put out. So I truly, truly hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you got something out of it. Thank you for hanging around. Much blessings and much peace to you. Remember, you're better than you were, but you're not half as good as you're going to be. I'll see you next time. Oh, before I go, I really got to work on my sign-off game. But before I go, do me a favor. If you are online and you're on YouTube, check out my YouTube. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you so feel inclined. If you're on IG, feel free to hop on IG and say hello, greet, and I will say hello back. I appreciate that, Jock. Thank you so much, brother, for coming around. Thank you for those kind words. I really, really appreciate it. So now with that said, I'm going to go now because I've got stuff to do. So again, you guys have a great night. Have a great evening, great morning, great day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Be blessed. You're better than you were, but you're not half as good as you're going to be. I'll see you next time.